All right, everyone, welcome to As the Expert. We're here ready to get started. And today we have been blessed to have an incredible, amazing speaker who I consider a very dear friend. Ade Otubanjo is a speech pathologist with over 17 years of experience and has done a lot of work both here in the United States and also globally. He's done work in Ghana with me with the Haven International Programming and also done work in Nigeria and is really well sought after to speak. He works with the New York school districts and also has his own private practice. It's done work with early intervention all the way through different age groups. And anytime I need my expert speech pathologist, I reach out to Ade because he has been able to support most of our kids in Ghana with the Haven International Programming. And also some of you have met him personally when he's spoken for us a number of times. So he's not a stranger at all to my Go team at all. I like to know that I have a resident speech pathologist that works with us on this organization. And so Ade, thank you always for being there when we reach out to you to be a blessing to the families. We're gonna get started in a little bit. Jenny, please be ready to show live his video slides. Ade, I want to welcome you. We have a number of the families on here with us, and we were attempting to stream live, and hopefully we'll be able to do that on Facebook. But as we're getting ready to do that, I want to just kind of give some household announcements. If you have questions, certainly you can put it in the chat. We're on the back end. We'll try to grab those questions. And then I also invite him as he's doing his presentation. If he wants to take questions, then we can do that as well too. No question is foolish. Maybe if you don't want it to be out there and you want it privately, certainly text it to us privately, to Jenny or I, and we'll make sure that he gets it as well too. But I want you to know that whatever you're asking of in this conversation, know that he's really open to hearing you and giving you ideas that will best help you. So I am extremely pleased to present our Ask the Expert this month. The topic is speech communication strategies in a virtual world. Speech communication strategies in a virtual world. So I'm going to invite Ade to, take over and introduce yourself to the team that you've been talking to many, many a times. You're muted. Ade, you're muted.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Genevieve. I also want to say thank you to Dr. Genevieve for the opportunity to do this. And thank you again, Dr. Genevieve, for all the work you do for our children. Without you, God knows where we'll be today. Um, I would just like to say first thing, thank God for today. Like Dr. Genevieve said, my name is Ade Otubanjo, a speech pathologist in the New York area. I've been a speech pathologist for about over 17 years now. I continue to work with children from 0 to 3 years. I also work in school population from pre-K to fifth grade. I also worked with adults with stroke, with feeding concern and swallowing concern. So I also work with children also with feeding and swallowing concern from 0 to 3 years. So I've been doing this and I enjoy doing it. I also love seeing progress, especially when I work with children and they make progress. Some children, they do baby steps to make progress, but any little thing that is accomplished from any child, it's a lot in my view. So thank you everyone for joining in today.
All right, Jenny, you want to share the screen?
Thank you. So, like I said, Ade Otubanjo, speech pathologist. The first slide, speech therapy activities. So, just to get started, virtual speech therapy. In a virtual session, a therapist may evaluate a person or a child, an adult, speech and language, or offer them strategies to correct their speech and language concern, or help them practice new speech patterns to improve communication. I will be sharing some activities with everyone to see, but I just want to say this to explain this. Before COVID, we used to go in, assess and do assessment in person, but after COVID, COVID has changed a lot of ways we do things now, especially in the speech world and other profession. I remember about 5 years ago, two of my professors, one of them Dr. Jones and Dr. Brady, one is an audiologist and one is also a speech pathologist. We wanted to do some work in Cameroon because there they said there was only one speech pathologist that speaks English. But they couldn't travel because they said they couldn't go to Africa. That was going to be their first time to go to Africa. So they couldn't travel for 10 hours. So they were talking about doing what we're doing now virtually to assess people from here in Africa. And everybody shut it down. They said, oh, we want you guys in person. We want you, everybody in person. But now with COVID, this has changed a lot. So what we do now with COVID is that we're able to do assessment virtually on any individual that has some speech concern over Zoom, over phone, over WhatsApp, or whatever the situation that the family has to access us virtually. And it's been working. I've done a lot of assessment, even with babies from 1 month old the parents have told me they've had feeding concern. And also with children also who has language concern, whereby we're able to assess them over virtually, and we prepare the parents to have certain materials ready for us to assess that child virtually. Because a lot of people will say, "Oh, how can you do this virtually? We need you in person," but it's being done, and it's going to be the new thing moving forward now that parents will be given the option if you want in-person assessment or you want things done virtually. Thank you. Next slide, please.
Next slide.
So one of the activities that I highly recommend is ABCYA. These have been a very virtual activity that children like to engage with, even as old as adults who either have speech impairment, because these also prepares them for the foundation to improve on their language and words for the sounds coming from these activities. So ABYCA is a speech learning game from pre-K to middle school. It helps children, especially with letters, pronouncing those letters to form words, and from words to form phrases, and from phrases to form sentences. So anyone can use this who has a speech and language impairment. I highly recommend it. I use it for a lot of the children. Even within the school system is being used, and even outside the school system. Thank you. Next slide. Another one that I highly recommend is the Boom Learning. Boom Learning is a platform that allows speech therapists to download free and paid digital activities. So these activities can vary with all ages. It could target anybody because with WH question, who, what, where, this Boom Learning targets those areas, and it can elicit some expressive and also some a lot of receptive, whereby it gives that child or that adult problem solving skills and able to uh, respond to various WH questions, because as for the rest of our life we're going to come across WH questions from the minute we're a child to up till we're an adult. Even at workplace we still have they ask questions like what happened, how did it happen, who did you contact when it happened. So this I highly recommend as an activity for anyone or with speech and language impairment. Thank you. Next. Another funful one that I use a lot too. In fact, my daughter uses this is Epic. Epic is has a lot of books, both fiction and nonfiction, and it has all kinds of areas of reading for the children. And I highly recommend this because one of the areas I do with this is, especially in the school, I want all my kids that I service to be able to pick up any book and read a book, and able to express themselves verbally or non-verbal, either by reading and then writing what they read. And some of the areas I use to target with this is after they read this book online or whatever way is access to them, we can also pick out vocabulary words that they're having difficulties with while they're reading. So once we pick out those vocabulary words, like maybe for instance jump, we pick out that word and we look at the definition of that word jump, and then I'll have the kids now form a sentence on that word that they came across while reading that they were experiencing difficulties. So this is an area whereby I love so much that because it improves and increases vocabulary in all ages. And also it also has a lot of fun games. They are learning games. Because my thing is that I'm a person who likes children, whatever they're playing a game, they're learning from the game. They're not just playing a game just to have fun. It's an educational game that they're learning as they go across, as they go along with the game.
Ade, there was a question here whether which sites are free and which sites are prescription subscription. I just wanted to also mention that the Epic one is actually getepic.com. So there was a get the word get missing from it. So it should be saying getepic.com, just so that there's another one there. But
Thank
we just want to make sure that it's that piece of it. So
Yes, it's sorry. Thank you for
yeah,
that, for
no
correcting
problem.
that.
For next one. Oh, we can't hear you.
I mean, you have that 30 days to try them out. And if it's something that you know is not going to be beneficiary to you, then you don't have to pay for it. But I always do the same thing. I try it out for 30 days. If it's something that I feel that the children or the adult or whoever I'm working with, it's gaining something from it, then I secure it by paying for it. So I highly recommend that if it's something that you can always try for 30 days, and if it's something that you feel that is not going to be of interest to you or is not going to benefit your needs, then you don't have to pay for it.
Okay, good.
Next one is germinylab.com, which is one that I love so much. In fact, my daughter uses this too a lot. This one, it's like a game, and you can create any game on your own. And this, you can also use the game they have, and it targets all areas. It targets noun, verb, adjective, pronouns. You can also create any kinds of question. Who was in the rain today? What happened? What was the weather? When is Christmas? When is New Year's? When is Easter? So this allows you to create your own question.
Jenny, can you do the next slide?
Like it's not something that you take a medicine on, that you take Tylenol and everything is okay. It's a lot of practice, a lot of modeling. So it's something that you can do and keep doing with that person or that child or that individual over time and keep using all kinds of questions that you feel that is of interest to the person. Thank you. Next slide. Another good one is Homer. Is a really good speech game, which allows the person or individual to trace out the letters. And they also listen to different stories in a book. So you can go in there and pick out any book you want. And it also engages them to think, to problem solve. So their activities are targeted towards learning. So they're able to think about the whatever they're playing, the game they're playing, and problem solve it. Another good one that I highly recommend is the Owl Plain Typing Education Multiplayer Racing Game. It's called a racing game. The reason it's called a racing game is that you can play it with more than one person. So let's say, for instance, you're playing this game with two individuals. So every time other person gets the question correct, you move to the next stage. So whoever doesn't get the answer right will stay behind. So it's like a game that is motivating each other that, okay, I'm going to make sure I get this right so that I can get to the finish line. We can both get to the finish line first, or I'll get to the finish line before my partner. So this is also a learning game. It's not a game that they're just playing just for fun or for no reason. It's a game whereby they're putting in a reward into it, and at the same time they're learning, which is having as a motivation. Thank you. So this is another one, quizzes. This is another fun game. This targets vocabulary a lot. It comes, you see a lot of vocabulary words, which will help the student learn and increase their vocabulary. Like I was saying with the other previous activities, whereby kids always come across and get stuck, or even some adults will get stuck on words, and they'll be like, you know what? I've seen this word somewhere before, but I don't remember what it means. Return. What does it mean to return something? So this it's a game whereby it targets those vocabulary words and it turns it into a game for the children, whereby they're learning about the word to return something to the store or to return something that I don't want anymore. So this helps increase their vocabulary so that when they're forming sentences or writing letters or things like that, they remember some of these words that they came across while playing these activities, and it helps them to create sentences. Thank you. Next slide. Another popular one, I know somebody had asked a question before that, which ones are free? This was free for a while, but I don't know if they still charge now, if they're charging money now. Starfall.com, because it's very good. We use it a lot in the school system also, because this helps with the reading. Those who are still struggling with reading, it has the reading games and it has the phonics in there. So it helps, it serves as a very, very good game to help anyone who's struggling in terms of reading. I remember when I got this game, I've had this for about over 12 years now, Starfall. It was free when I got it. But some people have told me, some of the parents I work with, I always recommend this to them. And they've told me they had to pay, and some said it's still free. So this is one that I highly recommend. We use it a lot in the school system, and I still use it. In fact, my daughter used it right from when she was a baby till she still, plays with it sometime now because it's very highly recommended. Staffball.com. Next slide. So another good one that I like is Vox, stands for video books. This is a video book whereby you can listen to the video. So for someone who does not is not able to read, you can listen to the book. You can pick any book you want to read about, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, whether it's about food, whether it's about adjective, whether it's about animals, and then you listen to it. If you're not able to read, you're able to listen to any types of books with these activities. And when you listen to it, then you can also ask questions, either if they're non-verbal or verbal, they can either answer the question in either non-verbally or verbally, either by writing or by drawing. So this also I highly recommend. It's a very good activity.
Ade, there was a question about that one in the chat. Is this an audio book, or how does this work? Maybe when we're done, we can look at some of these sites and I
Yes,
can
it is.
navigate through.
Thank you. Yeah, it is an audio book. Yeah, it is an audio book. That was a very good question. Thank you. It is an audio book. And some of the activities I do with some of the people I work with, just to show samples. When I work with them virtually, I could direct them to a site to print out a worksheet or whatever after talking about having a discussion about certain things just to increase their receptive and expressive For instance, I can ask a question, oh, what do you like best? Just to improve their, receptive and expressive. What do you like best? Okay, I like hamburger or pizza. A lot of the times when you ask that questions, a lot of people will give you just a single answer or just a short answer. Yes, pizza. Or yes, hamburger. So now I want to expand their thinking. Why? Why do you like this? Like I was saying before, this target also increases their WH question. Why? Why do you like pizza? And explain. Give me reasons why you like it. Is it because it's chewable more, or is it because it's sweeter more? So these are some of the activities I like to engage children with. So after discussing with them, whatever way, so I want them to put it in writing. So, and I'm a fan of somebody when I do speech therapy with anyone, apart from you, even if you're nonverbal, so far you're able to hear me, you can also put whatever you're thinking in writing for me so we can see. So that increases your receptive too, apart from expressive. And I also like to target a lot of things like describing nouns. What is a noun? What is an adjective? Because a lot of children, we do come across all these things as we go on in our daily lives. Is a car a noun? Is a person a noun? Things like that. What describes a noun? Is it because the pencil is yellow? So and what's an adjective? Okay, I picked up the yellow pencil today. So things like that. So these are some of the. I just wanted to show a sample of some of activities we can do with our children or with whoever needs it in their house. And some of these things that you can always go online and print them out for free. You have access to them, and it helps with creating an activities. Especially now that some of our children are working remotely from home, so this helps also.
Can I ask you a question about this one before you move on?
Sure.
So, practically speaking, do you, the parent, because I don't do speech therapy virtually, only because I've not been able to. Nick won't sit behind a computer for that length of time. Do you print this out and then the parent, how do the students, so just help us, those who are not doing this yet, how does it work?
Thank you. That's a very good question. With technology today, some of these things, depending on the kind of computer or how very knowledgeable you are with technologies, some of these things can just be done on their computer by just typing the answer out, or some of these things can be done
Your audio went out, or is it just me?
Yeah, it went
have
out.
a printer at home,
Oh,
or things that we might not have access to a printer, but we have access to a computer whereby you're able to write your answers on your computer or on your phone. With there's so many apps out there now these days that we don't even need to print anything. All you have to do is just access everything with your fingers by writing it with your fingers on your phone. I remember before COVID, we used to get signatures by mailing things. We have that now whereby there's an app. You email the form to the parents, they sign it, and they email it back to you, and you email it back to whoever you're emailing it to. So you don't even have to print anymore.
Wow. So there was a question here about two questions. One is for non-speaking English parents, how do you do something like this? And then number two, how do they work on the pronunciation? How do you do that?
That's a very good question. I come across that a lot, and that's why there's a lot of training involved. So as you're working as a speech therapist with the child, you're also teaching the parents on what to do. Because I come across a lot of parents that are Spanish speaking, that don't speak a lot of English. So you're not just helping the child, you're now also helping the mother to help the child. So because you're not just going to be the therapist to the child only, you're also being the therapist to the mother, to showing her what she has to do every week. So you're going to create like a calendar with the mother, like, okay, today I'm going to teach you how to teach the child to pronounce maybe A for apple, or A for apple, something like that, or B for ball, blah, blah, blah. So you're teaching the child to work on that. So she'll have a calendar and put down that, okay, myself and the therapist, we're going to work on how to get my child to pronounce this letter. because I'm a non-English speaking. So he's gonna give me that strategy, or she's gonna give me that strategy. So, and then at the end of the week, you do a check-in with the parent and said, okay, how did these activities I gave you on Monday, how did it go? If mom said, oh, okay, or dad says, oh, I had difficulty because of my non-speaking English, then we look at, okay, why were you having difficulty? So now the therapist now has to teach the mom a way or how to pronounce those sounds so that she can also help he or her child.
Uh-oh, we went out again.
I will just let you all know I'm gathering all the prices for all of these so I can share that at the end of all
Okay,
the.
good. Okay. All right, Dave,
She
are you
has her
back?
own homework,
Yeah.
but I don't speak English. Can you help? So, you just have to be flexible and be ready to help.
All right. So Ade, I have a bone to pick with you. Why would you say it's only the mother? What
Oh,
happened to the
sorry.
father?
That's all. I had to catch myself there.
I mean, like,
Like, I'm emphasizing on the mothers alone. I'm so
yes, you
sorry.
are.
We fathers have to get in there. We have to do a lot.
Exactly. The fathers also
Sorry.
have to be a part of
I
that.
apologize. No, not just the fathers, please. We
I
need
just
all
picking on
hands
you.
on this.
I just picking on you. You're right. Half of the time is the mothers that are doing this thing.
Exactly. And that's why it's so funny. That's why the word mother is always in my mouth, because I'm always in contact with the mother. But I've been in contact with some fathers too. Don't get me wrong, but we see mothers a lot,
So,
all the
and that's a different topic in itself, which we can touch. But maybe I can get you to touch on it a little bit. Given that oftentimes it's just the mother that's doing these activities, how do you help that mother or whoever the primary caregiver is to be able to extend it out to the rest of the team?
very good. That's why it's very important that once you're helping a child, you have to
Oh, darn it. I sincerely apologize.
was
He's
one
talking,
more
but
topic.
then we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
You're gonna have to repeat what you just said.
Oh,
Because
sorry about that. So, um, like for instance, when you are working with a child, you have to check in with the parents, either the father or the mother, and say, listen, is there anybody else on this team that is working with this child or this individual that I need to speak to so that we're all on the same page? Because it's very important, because when A doesn't know what B is doing, it creates confusion. And then when B doesn't know what A is doing, it creates confusion. So we all need to be on the same page. So we have to check in with the parents and
the audio is very difficult.
struggling with English or whatever the situation is. So we want to all be on the same page to know how to address the activities with the parent, with the mom or the father. I keep saying mom, with the father, so that everybody is on the same page. I'll give an example. I had a child who was about 1 month old who had trouble drinking milk from the nipple. So we all had to be in the same page. Like, okay, what is Ade working on? Ade is working on exercises orally to engage the baby to be able to drink the milk from the bottle. And then there was an OT in the picture too, working with the baby. So we all needed to communicate to make sure we're all showing mom or dad what she's meant to do or he's meant to do when we're not around. And this was a child we were seeing virtually. So it was very important to have that communication going on. So we had to all exchange phone numbers. We had to exchange emails. We had to say, listen, I'm accessible. You can access me better by text. Some of them would say, oh, you can access me better by email. Or some would say, oh, I don't check. So all this thing has to be addressed at the beginning of the service.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you for that.
Another good one that I also recommend is k5learning.com. This is a very good one. In fact, I use this for my daughter also. It gives you a flashcard, and this is where you get to print out a lot of these worksheets for free. And some of them you just go there and look at the category you're looking for, either sight words, either vocabulary, either spelling, either grammar, and then you print it out and you practice with the child at home if the child is homeschooled. so that every time he or she is being taught in the school, and you see that, okay, John is having difficulty with sight words. So then I'm going to go on this site and print out all the sight words for his age range or for his grade level and practice with him. Because, like I said, everything is about practice. The more you do things, the more the child or the person gets familiar and very good at it. Because if you don't practice, it's like driving a car. If you don't practice how to parallel park, you're not going to get good at it. So the more you practice parallel parking, the one shot you're going to do it right away. So this I strongly highly recommend, because I print out a lot of stuff here for those who I work with and in the school or privately, and especially for my daughter also in any area she's struggling with.
All right, so there's a question here about what about the articulation for older kids?
That's a very good one. So articulation is another good one. There's also uh, in some of these activities you can see, like especially for the one we just spoke about, Starfall. You can also use that because that also target those areas. And then with articulation also, it has to do with the placement of the articulators. What are articulators? The articulators are your teeth, your tongue, and your lips. So one of the things again is that as a therapist, you have to train the mother also or the father to make sure he or she knows where the child should be placing those articulators to produce those sounds so that articulation can be strongly addressed. For instance, I had a child who could not pronounce a L. So every time the child wants to say his name, his name has a L, so he will put a W in there. He's substituting an L for a W because he struggles with a L. So, and why is that? Some kids or some adults, even I, because I grew up in Africa most of my time, so I had to always, pay attention to my THs, like thank you, So some children have the struggle with elevating their tongue to the root of their mouth to produce that L for like lollipop. So that you have to teach the parents and say, listen, why not get something that the child like and put it at the roof of the mouth and tell them to lick it with their tongue, so that way they are exercising their tongue to lift it up to produce that L sound for learning. S is another one a lot of people struggle with. When they say want to say the snake, they say thick, thick. So you have to tell them that your tongue stays behind your teeth. So it's something that you have to again train the parents so that they can train the child, and then look at activities that, and you can print out a worksheet that addresses those sounds that the child are struggling with, whether it's a S, whether it's a L, and come up with words and have them practice with those words like lollipop. All right, write the word lollipop and let's say 3 times. And making sure they're placing those articulators in the right place to produce the sound.
So let me ask you a question. So how would a parent, is there like a site, you mentioned Starfalls, besides that one, is there another site that will help you to be able to identify? You gave us some really great example of how to do the L and the S, for example. If you don't have access to a speech pathologist or therapist to help you with that, what do you do?
That's a very good one. Sure. There is a site for also articulations that I can also send to you guys. I could have sent to you, because that's very important, because so that they can also learn how to place all those articulators. And another thing you can also do is you can also draw it out for those who doesn't have access to those sites. What I sometimes do is we draw out those articulators where they are supposed to be elevated to, so that he or she can now practice it and try to produce those sounds. So yes, there's some sites that I will send over to, so that parents could look into for articulations. So the next one is draw and tell. Draw and tell is another one that I like. I like very much because sometimes we have children who are nonverbal, so they could draw what they want to tell us. And from that, you can see from their drawing that they're trying to tell us something. And for those who are even verbal, they might not have the language structure or how to form a sentence, so they're able to draw. And when they draw what they're trying to say, then we can now aid them to putting together words to the drawing. Because once you have a drawing, then you can put words to it. So this is one activity that I highly recommend for anyone to look at, because it not doesn't help, it's good because every child, it's good for them to know how to draw, because that's one activities I always like doing with a lot of the school age kids I work with, because I would tell them, draw something you did over the holiday and let's put a short story to it. And a lot of children love drawing. They're quick to grab their pencil and draw. Oh, especially when we had the snow recently, I'll say, okay, what did you do during the
Ade, you're gonna have to repeat yourself because what you just said, we missed it.
So definitely, I highly recommend draw and tell stories because
So, what about kids who don't like to draw? Or
that's a big
maybe the fine motor skills are not developed, so they have an issue with doing that. How do you?
that's a very good question. So because I have kids that don't know how to draw. They struggle with drawing. So there are very various things you can do. We also have some printout sheets that we can get for those kids, whereby the layout of a drawing is there already. So they all just have to do is trace on it. And for us, instead of us, going out to buy anything, or if you can't find one that you can print out for free, you can trace it. You can help them with hand over hand, trace it out, or you can put like a dot on the paper of what the object is meant to be about, and then they can connect those dots to form whatever they're trying to create. Because yes, I do have kids that they don't even they're struggling with holding a pencil, and that's another area of occupational therapists that comes in to aid those children. So if there's anyone struggling with holding a pencil or drawing, I will advise to also seek an occupational therapist to do an assessment to look at how they can be helped, either by giving them some special pencil or special graphs on a pencil, or there's several ways that can also be addressed. But at this point, if it's something that you want to start addressing on your own, you can create like a scenario whereby you put a dot and then the child can connect those dots to form a drawing.
Got it. So the point here is that being able to do some communication around the drawing is really where you're getting at.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you. So that you can get that communication going, because you want to look for anyway, because communication it just doesn't involve speaking. It involves eye contact, it involves pointing. And a lot of us always forget that. We always say, oh yeah, I want the child to talk to me. I want the child to speak right now. But there's so many ways the child is talking to us. The child is talking to us. Think of babies. They cry when they're hungry. They're communicating to us. They look at us and smile at us. They're communicating to us. So there's so many ways that we can communicate by looking, crying, drawing, pointing, writing, typing. So many ways. Using picture exchange. So many ways we communicate. So we should not just look at verbal ways of communicating. We should look at other areas, because we have to look at the strength of a child. Every child has different strength. So we have to look at that strength and tap into it and make the best of it.
Got it. So there's a question here about application of this with sign language. Um, any of these communication tools that will be effective for that person who does sign language?
Yes, like I was saying, like for the audio one, whereby they listen to the book and they're able to listen. If they're not able to listen, or they're able to read, and then they can sign what they're reading to us, or if they're able to read it and then they're able to write. Uh, because we have some children who would rely definitely on sign language, but they're able to communicate by writing. So we want to target that with the draw and tell. That's another good area we could use. We can have them draw what they're trying to tell us. And if you have a child that signs a lot, but maybe not everybody in the family knows how to sign, then you can say, oh, you know what? Why don't you draw what you're trying to tell everyone so that they can see? And then that child could draw and say, okay, I'm just trying to tell you guys that today is my birthday. Nobody said happy birthday. Simple as that. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're sorry. Something as simple as that. So yes, that's a very good question also. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for listening. And if there's any more question or any more
Yeah.
areas
So,
you'd like to
so
see
what we're
from,
gonna do is Jenny was grabbing a couple of the links that you had in there. So I'll invite if the particular ones that you wanted us to open it up to, we can. And then maybe if people also have questions, this is the expert on speech pathology for your next 15 minutes. Folks, you can ask your questions, maybe something that you've struggled with. Like I said, we're all still trying to figure out how to navigate through the virtual world. And like you said earlier, it doesn't look like we're going to revert back to pre-COVID. We're probably going to apply these principles moving forward. So for the different individuals with the different challenges who can leverage communication strategies, this would be the way to do it. So if people have particular questions that, for those who are in the Zoom room, if you want to ask the question.
and yes, I thank you, Dr. Genevieve. I highly recommend that because from what we're saying now, parents are given the option to now choose. Like, do you want in person? Do you want person to come and look at your child or bring your child to the person? Or do you want them to assess your child virtually? And I found out that some parents are moving towards they still want you to, they want to see you in person. And some, don't get me wrong, a lot of people are still scared. Like, I'll give an example. About 2 weeks ago, I know somebody who told me that her 9-month-old baby got COVID. I was
Mm,
shocked. I said, a 9-month baby? And I was seeing that baby.
mm,
I was seeing that baby virtually. And I was like, wow, she was crying on the phone. And I was like, so for a parent like that, she's not going to want you to ever come into her life in person. So she's going to go all the way virtually. And then I had another school age boy who was about 9 years old who got COVID and his mother got COVID too. So it's like, so that's another family who would say, you know what, stay away, just see us virtually. So this is going to be the new normal now that you will be, although I feel a lot of parents will be given the choice, like, okay, do you want in person or do you want virtually? So then it'll be up to the parents and up to the therapists to work together to decide which is best.
So there's a couple of questions, but I have one before I ask you. How effective? I'm still a skeptic, so you're selling me here. I'm going to be admitting my ignorance of this particular issue. How effective has it been in doing the speech therapy virtually? I know you talked about the assessment, but how effective have you seen? I mean, like with the ones that you've been working with.
Thank you. That's a very good question. I'll be honest with you. When I first started hearing about virtually, we call it telehealth too, also in the speech or in the medical world. When they were talking about it, I was like skeptical too. I was like, there's nothing like getting in there, getting into that child's life face to face and doing what you got to do and do it. I said, I don't think this is going to work too much, but after doing it now for a year, it's very effective, very, very effective. I'll give you an example. I worked with a child who the father is Chinese and the mother is a Latino woman. And she said that it was because they started seeing me, he started now speaking in English. That before me, he wasn't speaking any English. And the boy was about 6 years old. And it was everything we've been doing is remotely, virtually. He's not in school in person. He goes to school virtually, also remotely. and he's making progress. Even the mother acknowledges, she said, it's because of you, Mr. Ade, that he's now speaking in English. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not 100%, but he's making progress. And you could tell that he loves it because we do all kinds of activities. We read a book, and once I read a book, I pick out sight words with him. I'll pick out words like see, sight words for his age level and his grade level. And I'll say, you know what? Let's try to form a sentence there. I see a ball. I see a cat. I see a dog. And he would try to read it and look at me. Just like I'm right in front of him, see ball. And, he's excited. And kids love when you praise the way you say, good job. Yes. And then he said, give me another one. Give me another one. And I'm like, okay. So it's working. But don't get me wrong. There might be some children whereby it's going to be challenging, because I also have a child also who is 2.5 years old, who was diagnosed with autism. He doesn't stay too long on the camera. He stays for 5 minutes, he runs away. So then he will come back. So we have to just know that we have to create that breaks. Like, for some children, it's hard for anybody, even as an adult, sometimes it's hard for us to sit down for 10 minutes. We want to go for a walk. Even when COVID hit, we started to transition to remote from the school, from everywhere. So for a while, I was sitting in front of the computer from 8 o'clock in the morning sometimes till 8 at night. And I got tired. I was like, I have to get up and walk around and just look out the window. So we can now imagine a child, we want them to sit for half an hour, sit for an hour. No, we just have to have a strategy. If we know we have a child or an adult who can sit for a length of time, then we want to give them breaks. All right, we sit for 5 minutes, let them run around. Like this little child I was talking about, he'll sit for 5 minutes, run around, and the mom and I will work together. So we'll play music that he likes. He comes back, he looks at the camera, he hears the music, then he sit down. Then we'll give him another 5 minute break. He runs around. So we have to be flexible as a parent and as a therapist to be able to know that certain individual or certain child will not be able to sit down for a length of time. But this is working. This is working. We don't have to be there. Even like I was saying, I do feeding on virtually with parents to tell them. I've done several feeding, and moms and dad have told me, yeah, he's trying to chew now. Thank you. It's always, the parents still have to take the role of the therapist. It's not just the therapist, because I'll tell you something. A therapist can work with our child for 30 minutes, 1 hour, but we spend most of the time with our child. We're going to spend 7 days a week all the time. So we have to just learn to carry over when the therapist is not there.
Okay, good. That led into the question that somebody asked earlier about how many days a week or how many hours a week should we practice with our kids?
Thank you. That's an excellent question, because I have a daughter too. And I'll tell you, you should always practice with your child anytime you have, because I'll give an example. There was a time my daughter was struggling with multiplication. I was doing it with her all the time. I will make sure she practiced any little time I have. I'm like, yeah, I'll print out a multiplication sheet from K5 learning that I introduced, print it out, sit her down, have her do something, and I'll practice with her. So anytime you get, whether you're in the car, sometimes I'm in the car with her, I'll tell her, get on Epics, read a book, something like that. So any little time you have that you can access something, do it. It matters a lot, because it takes practice. Practice makes it perfect. Like I gave an example about driving a car and parallel parking. If you do not practice how to parallel park a lot, you're not going to get good at it. Once you practice a lot, you don't even have to look too much.
Yeah, the audio cut out on the last section of what you said.
For another 8, 10, 12 hours. So anytime you get, every day, read a book to the child, do something, any activity, do with a child. It helps a lot.
All right, excellent. Somebody asked a question, can they access your services through insurance?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely.
Okay, so for those of you who need to reach out to him, right, just send me an email and I'll send you his information.
Thank you.
And then the question was, how can we practice past, present, and future tense for younger kids?
Thank you. That's another good question. Yes, that's another thing that we can do because a lot of these things we do it already, but we just don't practice with the child. Will talk about, oh, last year, you remember when I had a birthday party for you? We had it at Chuck and Cheese, but because of COVID, we could not have one for you this year. We're talking about the past. We're talking about the present. That's a scenario we can bring up with our child. But when we talk about things, we can address it that way. That now I'm talking about something that happened. Now I'm going to talk about something that is happening now or that is going to happen in the future. And then another way to do that is we want to print out, if it's a child that we know is able to access through writing, we want to print out activities to that talks about the past, the present, and have them do activities on that. Another good one I'll use is my daughter. When she was struggling with nouns and adjective, we worked on it. We printed out a lot of worksheet from K5 learning that she was using to practice, and now she's getting very good at it. So again, it's a lot of practice just verbally with the child and also on paper. So we have to do both. It's like a child that is trying to walk down the stairs and doesn't know how to count. Every time you walk down the stairs with the child, you say one, two, three, and then you praise them. Yeah, you did it. You count up to 10. So when we talk to the child about things that happened in the past, we want to address it right there. And when we're talking about things that is happening now in the present or is going to happen in the future, then we also addressing and letting them know now where this is how we're addressing the past, the present tense.
All right, excellent. So Genevieve, there's a particular link that you wanted to show.
Sure, I'm going to share my screen. I have a little document that shows the prices, and then I'll put it in the chat too. This just might be easier. This is what I found for the prices for everything. Epic is getepic.com. It's a 30-day free trial, and then it's $5 a month. Boom Learning is free. ABCYA is free, but then there's a premium section for $10 a month or $70 for the year. JeopardyLabs.com is $20 for a lifetime. Homer is learnwithhomer.com, and it's a 30-day trial, then $10 a month or $60 for the year. Quizzes is free. Starfall is free. Books is 30 days free, then $5 a month. The K5 Learning is free worksheets, and Draw and Tell is an app, and that's free also. But again, I'll put this in the chat so everybody has all this information too. Just if anybody wanted to screenshot this or take a picture of it.
No,
Thank you.
this is great. Thank you for doing that because
Yep.
that I think will help. And then for those of you who are on here who saw it, definitely share with other friends who may have needs. And obviously, in terms of our day, for those who have older children, were there any particular links that you thought may be pertinent? I have a 19-year-old, so I mean, obviously, whatever we can do to get him to communicate is effective. But is there particular strategies that you can use there?
Yes, thank you, Dr. G. Depending on the child's needs, so that's why it's very important to know our children, to know their strength. So if we have a child, like for instance, I met a child that was 40 years old, a girl who is who was diagnosed with autism, who is nonverbal. So I said to the mom, is there any way she can communicate? And the mom said, sometimes she can write simple sentences. So I said, okay, let's build on that. So we started using sight words to help her.
Guess we're frozen again.
And again, going back to what I was saying before with the draw and tell, so she's able to now draw certain things she likes. Like we'll tell her, oh, okay, if you can't write a sentence, okay, draw what you want. So sometimes she drew a pizza because she hasn't eaten pizza in a long time. The mom said, oh, I don't like to give her pizza. So she drew a slice of pizza and she wanted to try a slice of pizza. So that was what she was trying to communicate. So from the drawing, we now try to put a word to it like I want pizza. As simple as that. So that's some of the area, but definitely we have to know the strength of our child and the level so that we can now use it to address it. if that's the case, then maybe it's a child that is 40 years old but cannot write, but is able to use again picture exchange. Then we have to now look at certain things that he or she needs on a daily basis and use that to create that picture exchange whereby that child at that age could communicate with us, exchanging the picture of what she wants. It could be a simple thing that, she wants to just go outside to look out because the weather is getting nice now. So we'll have a picture of outside and we'll give her choices. Like we have a picture of the outside, we'll give her a picture of a playground, we'll give her a picture of a mall, and then we'll have he or she pick out which one she wants. I also had a father who had a 25-year-old boy and who told me that the picture was working because every time he likes to go out to eat. But with COVID now, they don't want to take him. So he was telling me that yesterday they finally took him to get some hibachi, which he likes, all the, cooking with all the smoke and so. And the father was, it was a simple thing as, just giving me a picture of what you want to do today. And he gave the father the picture of going out to eat. And they took him and he was so excited. He was with his iPad at the hibachi, smiling and having fun. So it's simple things like this that brings, joy into people's, life, that you accomplish something. When I heard it, I was happy. I was like, oh, good. So, just make sure he puts on it. At least try to make sure he put on his mask. The father said, oh, that's a different story. Every 5 minutes it was coming up. So we
That's
got to make the
awesome.
best of the situation.
All right, so we'll open it up if anybody else has any questions or comments for our day. I hope that this was helpful. Maybe you can give us some feedback now verbally, and then also we're gonna throw a link. We put the link in the chat for you to give us feedback on the session today. As I've always said, I try to anticipate or think about what you guys may be interested in, and then try to create a topic around it, and then find a speaker. So it's always very helpful if you give us feedback, so we would know how to continue to be a help. I have Lynette. Thank you, Lynette, for posting that. That this was very helpful, Ade.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
and let's see, a couple of other, a number of people are saying that this was helpful. So thank you for that, because you know what, it inspires the people. I also want to give a shout out to Christina there, Ade's daughter. She actually helped Daddy to put together the presentation. So, and she's tolerated Daddy using her as an example. Oh, what are you showing that? That's the computer you used?
I think with these days now, the children know how to use the computer more than us.
So Chris said it's very helpful. It's great to know the current and newer websites. So this is very helpful for us. We'll definitely post it on, yeah, Christina, somebody says, hi, beautiful. Yes, you're
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Keep up the good work. Pretty soon, you're going to be the one doing the presentation for Daddy in itself, right?
Thank you, everyone.
So this was very, very helpful, Ade. We'll definitely share that in our WhatsApp group for those of you who are in there, just because you, and then if you use a site and you have additional input, or for some of you if you have suggestions that can help other parents, we're all on this journey together. Let's share it. And for those who'll be watching this later, because we're recording it, definitely if you have any questions, email us at info@mygoalautism.org, and we'll certainly get back to you. And like we said, our day has been like a big resource to us as an organization and to many of the families. You've seen him present before. So this was definitely a welcome information that he shared with us. So we do need your feedback from the survey, because those are all the things that we share with those who support us. And I'm sure he wants to hear your comments as well too. It's an encouragement to him. So we want to say thank you. If there's any questions before we complete this. No. Okay. So we want to say thank you so much for joining next month. Next month, oh, somebody's joining us after we're almost done. Next month, we're going to have a topic. The topic for next month is really going to be presented by another person who's also been a great resource to us. That's going to be Hillary Freeman. And she's going to be talking about, from a sibling's perspective and also a legal expert, she's going to be talking about effective strategies in with between parents and siblings in creating the future. So that's Sunday, April 11th. We're still going to host our Ask the Expert. And she's a breadth of wealth of information from the legal guardianship stuff all the way to being a sibling herself. And I personally have been indebted to her because she helped me tremendously in terms of planning for Nicholas for the future stuff. So for some of you who may have kids that are teenage age, and older, you may want to definitely join this conversation because I think that we're going to get a lot out of that conversation. Of course, at the end of this month, on the last Thursday of the month, is our empowerment moment with Dr. G. And join me as we have conversations. And you just never know what the heck will come out of my mouth. Talk. For those who knows, it's just a great time to have a conversation. We also started the social hour program with Jenny, and it's the second Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. And we really just for you to come and talk about anything. We don't broadcast that, we don't record that one. So really, it's a great opportunity for you to be a part of a conversation, and so we want you to be a part of that. So April 8th will be the next social hour. March 25th is our next empowerment moment. And then, of course, we have our Bowling for Autism event coming up very soon. Really, really, really a great opportunity for us to continue to do the great work we've been doing. It enables us to support families out there who lack the resources to get services for their loved ones. It's going to be virtual again, but we want you to be able to support us and get the word out about it. Really, how do people bowl virtually? Oh, it's fun. Come on. It's a great time. We want people to come out and log in and be a part of that. It's a competition. Last year we created teams, and Jenny, why don't you chime in on this one? Because this
Oh,
is your
sure. We had 18 teams last year. We don't like to give too much information away beforehand. It keeps the mystery alive, but bowling virtually is really awesome. It's super doable. Everybody of all ages did it last year. I'll put the link in the chat. You create your team, and then you'll have a volunteer who's assigned to your team to help you virtually bowl. We keep count of the scores. It's a good time. You can sneak in on other teams to watch them bowl. It's a good time. I encourage you all to join.
So I think one of the things we'll do is that we want to form a professional team against the parents' team. I want to create one. So Ade, I'm putting you on the hot spot. You can recruit Christina, right? They should be part of your team. She'll probably help you win. So we want to just create some competitions. For the parents on here, this is your chance to beat the professionals at their game. So I'm gonna put it out there and just let's just make fun of it. And the whole idea is really to have a good time. I think there's a lot that we all deal with already, and want to find opportunity to be able to connect and also have fun while we're raising funds at the same time. So I want to invite all the parents that are on here, caregivers, if you're on this team or listening, please, 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 Jenny, they can go to mygoalautism.org/events. You'll find the link on there to create a page. We can also send that link to yours. So we're gonna see us broadcasting that. And we have some upcoming news that we're going to be sharing very soon about my goal and some of the great things behind the scenes we're doing. We're working very hard to really show you that we as an organization, we continue to grow and will grow and grow and grow. And you are part of it. It's wonderful. Today I was looking through some pictures. Delali will kill me. I saw pictures of us like 8-9 years ago, and she's looking at this stuff and she's grown with my goal. And seeing some of your kids, Nate, and a number of them growing up now. And Christina, I remember when you were just a baby, get that brought you over to my house, and now you're doing presentation for your father. Oh my goodness. So Lilia, I know Thursday nights your work, you're not able to join us, but if you can even sneak in for 5 minutes, it's always good to listen into the topic. But I want to thank all of you for making time this afternoon. And Ade, I really appreciate you always making time to be with our families. It's really, really appreciated. Jenny, thank you for all that you do. And so hopefully you can join us next month. Agnes, welcome. This is being recorded, like I said. So we want to be able to we'll have it on our website, and we also will have it on our YouTube link, so that if you want to go back and grab those links that Ade shared with the presentation, we can do that. And if you actually want a copy of the PowerPoint, Ade, do I have your permission to share that with people?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. So when you complete the survey, Jenny will send you the actual PowerPoint too. So this way you have it as part of that. We just want to entice you to be able to give us feedback, which is always helpful. So once again, if and I also want to ask you if you have a particular area of struggle, something that you're struggling with right now, something that you're struggling with or a topic that you think, okay, you know what, I don't have information on this area, I really want help, please let me know. I mean, that's really why we're here. We want to be able to connect to resources out there. People reach out to us all the time. They want to do different topics. Sometimes, depending on what I think is pertinent to you, I might include it. But if you have a therapist you work with or a speaker that you know if that's fantastic, please let us know. We want to be able to link up and make sure that the word gets out there because we need as many people to get to the resources that they need. And if you're struggling, no need to struggle by yourself because I want to make sure that you get what you need. So I want to say thank you again for making it a time this afternoon to join us for the Ask the Expert. I hope you have a great evening, and we will talk to you on the 26th when you join me for the empowerment moment. And we'll see you soon. All right. Bye bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.